On what started as a typical holiday morning, the sun hinted at a day of relaxation and joy. I found myself in the hallway, urging my son Aaron to hurry for his baseball game when the world as I knew it shattered. Opening the door, I stood frozen, confronted by a ghost from the past. My husband Mark, who had vanished without a trace 3 years prior. "This is our home," he declared, his voice a blend of certainty and doubt. Before I could process his presence, Clara, my sister-in-law, emerged from behind him. The sight of her ignited a storm of emotions within me. "We're going to take custody of Aaron," Clara announced, her words dripping with false sweetness. Memories flooded back, the countless times I had pondered this exact scenario. With Mark and Clara's simultaneous disappearance, it couldn't have been mere chance. Lost in thought, I barely noticed Aaron's voice behind me. "Hey, Mom, who are you talking to?" My heart clenched at the sight of my oblivious son, unaware of the impending turmoil. Clara turned her predatory smile towards him. "It's nice to finally meet you, Aaron. I've wanted to meet you for so long." Her words churned my insides, masking her manipulative nature. Confused, Aaron glanced at me. "Dad, what are you doing here? And who is she?" He moved closer, sensing the tension. Mark and Clara stood speechless, caught off guard by his confrontation. Before they could regain composure, Aaron spoke again, his voice tinged with anger. "We're about to leave. Move." Mark and Clara noticed something behind me, their faces drained of color. A bitter laugh escaped me as I saw my daughter Elise cradled in Aaron's arms. Mark's shock was palpable as he stared between Elise and me. "Mark, Clara," I began, my voice steady despite the chaos in my heart. "3 years ago, you left without a word. I was left alone to pick up the pieces, to raise Aaron, and to face an unexpected pregnancy." I paused, letting my words sink in. Clara's eyes narrowed, but I continued, "I'm not the same person you abandoned. I fought hard to build a life for my children and me, and I won't let you waltz back in to destroy that." Their faces reflected shock, disbelief, and briefly, guilt. But it was too late for apologies. "Please leave," I said firmly. "You have no right to be here." Mark opened his mouth, likely to offer an excuse or plea, but I shut the door on them, on the past they represented. Turning back to my children, I saw Aaron looking at me with newfound respect, and Elise gurgling blissfully, unaware of the storm that had just passed. I took a deep breath, steadying my racing heart. This was only the beginning. The battle lines had been drawn, and I was prepared to fight for my family's future. The days following Mark and Clara's unwelcome visit were a whirlwind of emotions and memories, a tidal wave threatening to drown me. I found myself revisiting the dark days after Mark's disappearance, the sleepless nights filled with worry, and the countless hours spent questioning what I could have done differently. Aaron had struggled the most. Once a cheerful and outgoing boy, he became sullen and withdrawn, his bright eyes dimming. I remembered the dinners he pushed away, the school events he begged me to skip, and the cold, distant looks that replaced his warm smiles. It tore at my heart, but I couldn't find a way to reach him. As I brooded over these memories, Elisa's innocent laughter echoed through the house, a stark contrast to the storm raging within me. She was my unexpected blessing, a light in the darkness of Mark's betrayal. Her birth had been a turning point for me, a moment of profound strength and vulnerability. One evening, as I tucked Aaron into bed, he turned to me with serious eyes. "Mom, why did Dad leave us? Did we do something wrong?" His question hit me like a physical blow. "No, honey, you did nothing wrong. Sometimes adults make choices that don't make sense, and it's not because of anything you did." "But why did he come back, and with Aunt Clara?" The confusion in his voice was heartbreaking. I sighed, searching for the right words. "I don't know why they came back, but I do know that we are a family. You, me, and Elise. We'll get through this together." He nodded slowly, his young face etched with worries no child should bear. "I trust you, Mom. I just wish things were like before." I kissed his forehead, whispering, "I know, my love. I wish that too." The next day, I was jolted out of my reverie by a call from my lawyer. Miss Thompson, we need to discuss your legal options. Mark and Clara's claim is baseless, but we should prepare a case. I listened intently, my mind racing. This was my opportunity to push back, to ensure that Mark and Clara couldn't harm us any longer. Let's do it, I said firmly. I want to protect my children, and I won't let them be used as pawns in whatever game Mark and Clara are playing. Mr. Thompson's voice was reassuring. You're making the right decision. I'll start preparing the documents. We'll show them that they can't just walk over you. As I hung up, a sense of determination settled over me. Mark and Clara had underestimated me, thinking I would crumble under their pressure. But they were wrong. I was stronger now, tempered by the trials I had faced. Watching Elise play, I knew I would do whatever it took to keep them safe. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about justice for my children and me. Mark and Clara had awakened a fierce protectiveness in me, and I was ready to fight back with everything I had. As the days turned into weeks, my resolve hardened like steel. I was prepared for the legal battle ahead, but nothing could have prepared me for the emotional warfare that ensued. Mark and Clara, like vultures circling their prey, began their campaign to wear me down. One afternoon, as I collected Aaron from school, I found them waiting, their presence casting a dark shadow on the sunny day. Clara's voice was sickeningly sweet as she called out to Aaron, "Hi, sweetie. We've missed you so much." Aaron clung to my hand, his body tense. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Mark stepped forward, his expression one of feigned concern. "We just wanted to see you, son. We're your family too, you know." I felt a surge of anger. "You lost the right to call yourself his family when you abandoned him," I snapped, pulling Aaron closer. Clara's eyes narrowed, her facade slipping. "Lauren, you can't keep him from us. We have rights." "Rights? You have no rights here," I retorted, my voice cold. "You both made your choice 3 years ago. Now live with it." Mark's face twisted in anger. "You think you're so perfect, Lauren. You're just a bitter woman who couldn't keep her husband happy." I could feel Aaron's grip tighten on my hand, his small body shaking. "Let's go, Aaron," I said, turning to leave. But Clara wasn't finished. "You'll regret this, Lauren. We'll get what we want. We always do." Their threats echoed in my ears as we walked away, but I wouldn't let them see my fear. I had to be strong for Aaron and Elise. That night, their words haunted me. The thought of losing Aaron to those two was unbearable. I couldn't let it happen. I had to be smarter, stronger. The next day, I met with Mr. Thompson, my determination like a shield around me. "I want full custody of Aaron, and I want Mark and Clara to have no visitation rights," I stated firmly. Mr. Thompson nodded. "It's going to be a tough battle, but I believe we can win this. You're a good mother, Lauren. The court will see that." As the legal preparations progressed, I found an unexpected ally in my own home. Aaron. One evening, he came to me, his young face set in a serious expression. "Mom, I want to tell the judge that I want to stay with you, Dad, and Aunt Clara. They're not my family, not really." Tears welled in my eyes as I hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Aaron. That means more to me than you'll ever know." The day of the court hearing arrived like a storm on the horizon. I walked into the courtroom with Aaron by my side, ready to fight for our future. As the proceedings began, Clara tried to play the doting aunt, her words dripping with insincerity. Mark played the role of the repentant father, but his eyes were cold and calculating. However, when Aaron spoke, his voice clear and unwavering, the truth shone through. "I want to stay with my mom. She's been there for me when no one else was." The judge's decision came like a ray of sunlight through the clouds. Full custody granted to me with no visitation rights for Mark and Clara. As we left the courtroom, Mark's face was a mask of rage, and Clara's eyes burned with malice. But it didn't matter. We had won, Aaron and I together. The victory in court brought a temporary sense of peace, but it was short-lived. Mark and Clara, like wounded animals, became more desperate and dangerous in their tactics. They started a slanderous campaign, spreading lies and rumors about me in our community. It was a psychological warfare I hadn't anticipated. One evening, Aaron came home from school, his eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Mom, kids at school are saying you stole me from Dad, that you're keeping me away from him because you're mean." My heart broke at his words. "Aaron, you know that's not true. Everything I've done to protect you and Elise." He nodded, but the doubt was evident in his eyes. "I know, Mom, but it's hard. They don't understand." I hugged him, feeling his small body tremble. "I know it's hard, sweetheart, but we'll get through this. We're stronger than their lies." As the days passed, the rumors grew more vicious. Clara had always been cunning with her words, and now she used them like a weapon to turn my world upside down. I knew I had to fight back, but I was wary of stooping to their level. Then one day, Mark showed up at my workplace, a facade of remorse plastered on his face. "Lauren, can't we just talk about this for Aaron's sake?" His words were like poison, and I could see through his act. "There's nothing to talk about, Mark. You made your choice. Now live with it." He grabbed my arm, his grip tight. "You're ruining my life, Lauren, you and that kid." I pulled away, my voice steady. "No, Mark, you did that all by yourself." As I walked away, his parting words sent a chill down my spine. "This isn't over, Lauren." I refused to yield easily. The legal victory had granted me custody of Aaron, but it hadn't brought an end to the battle. Mark and Clara persisted relentlessly, and I could see the toll it was taking on Aaron. He was caught in the middle of a conflict he couldn't comprehend, torn between his biological father and the mother who had never abandoned him. One night, Aaron came to me, his face troubled. "Mom, what if Dad changes? What if he wants to be a real dad?" His words struck me deeply. "Aaron, I know he's your dad, and it's natural to hope for that. But we have to see people for who they are, not who we want them to be." Aaron was silent for a moment, then looked up at me with clear eyes. "I know. I just wish things were different." I held him close, whispering, "I do too, Aaron. I do too." Despite the ongoing battle, I remained steadfast in ensuring that Aaron and Elise remained my priority. They were my strength, the reason I fought so fiercely, and I would do anything to shield them from the shadows of Mark and Clara's deception. The relentless campaign by Mark and Clara took a darker turn, morphing into outright harassment. They seemed to be everywhere, outside my workplace, near Aaron's school. Always lurking, always watching. It was a psychological siege, and I felt its weight every day. But I refused to be cowed. It was time to strike back, to make them understand that they couldn't disrupt our lives without facing consequences. I scheduled a meeting with Mr. Thompson, my resolve unwavering. "Mr. Thompson, it's time we take more aggressive legal action. I want to file for a restraining order against Mark and Clara, and I want to sue them for harassment and defamation," I declared. Mr. Thompson nodded in agreement. "I think that's a wise decision, Lauren. Their behavior is unacceptable, and it's time they faced the legal repercussions." The legal proceedings were arduous, but I remained resolute. In court, Mark played the victim, a man wronged by his vindictive ex-wife. Clara, ever the actress, wept about being denied the chance to be a part of her nephew's life. But their performances couldn't conceal the truth. The judge saw through their facade and granted the restraining order. Additionally, they were ordered to pay damages for their defamatory actions. As we left the courtroom, Mark's face was a mask of fury, while Clara's eyes burned with unspoken threats. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I had the law on my side. However, their defeat in court did little to quell their vendetta. If anything, it seemed to fuel their spite. One day, I received a chilling phone call from Mark. "You think you've won, Lauren? You think you can just destroy my life and walk away? I'll make sure you regret this," he hissed through the phone. I clenched my jaw, fighting back the fear his words invoked. "You brought this on yourself, Mark. I'm just protecting my family. You haven't seen the last of me, Lauren. This isn't over," he spat before hanging up. His threat hung in the air like a toxic cloud. but I wouldn't let it break me. I had Aaron and Elise to think about. They were my world, and I would go to any lengths to shield them from Mark and Clara's malice. But as days turned into weeks, the constant stress began to wear me down. The never-ending vigilance, the fear of what Mark might do next, the pressure of being a single mother. It was all-consuming. One evening, as I put Elise to bed, Aaron came to me, his expression somber. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" Dad sounded really mad on the phone. I pulled him into a hug, my heart aching for the worry he had to bear. "We're going to be okay, Aaron. I won't let anything happen to us, I promise." But even as I spoke the words, I knew the battle was far from over. Mark and Clara were like a storm on the horizon, and I needed to be ready for whatever they threw our way. The weeks following the court ruling were a tense and watchful time. Mark and Clara, now bound by the restraining order, had receded into the shadows, but their silence was more unnerving than their threats. I knew this lull was just the calm before another storm. Then it happened. Clara, in a move of sheer desperation, orchestrated a public scene. I was picking up groceries when she appeared out of nowhere, screaming accusations. "You're a monster, Lauren. You've torn our family apart." Her theatrics backfired. The store manager recognized the disturbance and called the police. As they escorted a hysterical Clara away, her image of the wronged aunt crumbled. This public meltdown was the final straw. The police charged Clara with violating the restraining order and public disturbance. Mark, too, faced consequences. His involvement in the harassment and defamation, now fully exposed, led to his arrest. As I watched them being taken away, a part of me felt a pang of pity. They had descended into their own hell, a pit they had dug with their lies and hatred. But this feeling was quickly overshadowed by a sense of justice. They were finally facing the consequences of their actions. In the aftermath, the community's perception shifted. The truth about Mark and Clara's deceit and manipulation became apparent. People who had once whispered behind my back now offered their apologies and support. Aaron, witnessing the downfall of his father and aunt, had mixed emotions. "Mom, is it wrong to feel happy about Dad and Aunt Clara getting arrested?" I took his hand, sensing his inner turmoil. "It's okay to feel relieved, Aaron. They hurt us a lot. It's okay to want justice for that." The battle that had consumed our lives for months finally seemed to be over. Mark and Clara, once towering figures of intimidation, were now diminished, their power to harm us stripped away. As I tucked Aaron and Elise into bed that night, a sense of peace settled over me. We had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. With Mark and Clara's legal retribution, a heavy burden lifted from our shoulders. The days seemed brighter, and our home was filled with laughter once again. Aaron's smile returned, and Elise's innocent giggles were a balm to our scarred hearts. The community's support was overwhelming. Apologies turned into offers of help, and slowly, the rumors and whispers faded away. We were rebuilding our lives, piece by piece. But the true testament to our newfound peace came on my birthday. Aaron, now more mature and thoughtful, had a surprise for me. He approached with a shy smile, a small gift in his hand. "Happy birthday, Mom. I made this at school for you," he said, handing me a beautifully crafted photo frame. It held a picture of the three of us smiling and happy. Tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged him. "Thank you, Aaron. This is the best gift I could ever ask for." Later that day, as we celebrated with a small party, our little family felt whole again. Friends and neighbors joined in, their presence a symbol of the life we had reclaimed. During the party, a new face appeared. Tom, a kind and understanding man I had met through my work. His support during our trials had been unwavering, and his presence now felt like a promise of new beginnings. "Happy birthday, Lauren. I hope this year brings you all the happiness you deserve," Tom said, his eyes warm and sincere. I smiled, feeling a spark of something new, something hopeful. Thank you, Tom. It's already off to a great start. As the party wound down, Aaron came up to me, a serious look on his face. Mom, I've been thinking. Maybe it's okay to start new things, to be happy again. I knelt down to meet his gaze. It's more than okay, Aaron. We've been through a lot, and we deserve to be happy. He nodded, a small smile gracing his lips. I like Tom. He's nice, and I think he makes you happy. I hugged him, my heart full. He does, Aaron, and I'm glad you like him. That night, as I put Aaron and Elise to bed, I felt a sense of contentment I hadn't known in years. We had faced our demons and emerged victorious. Our future was ours to shape, and it looked bright and full of promise. Life had thrown us into turbulent waters, but we had learned to navigate the storm. Now, it was time to enjoy the calm, to embrace the new dawn that awaited us.